Alrighty, let's get this stream up and going. Looks like we're live. Go ahead and get the link so I can get chat set up. Go ahead and get the link. I did adjust the music volume down a bit and my mic volume up a little bit. Last stream felt a little loud on the music, so I kind of adjusted it. And boom, boom, and let's verify that is. Looks like it's connected. There we go. Now, looks like it came through just fine. Alrighty, I did have to do some minor edits on the API. I don't like doing edits on the project outside of the live stream. I really hate doing that, but there were a few runtime errors in it, and I had to get my overlay working and whatnot, and I didn't back it up because I did back it up a little bit. I think it's on the GitHub and whatnot, but I just decided to run through it and fix it. It was just minor import bugs and a few params that were getting passed in improperly, etc., etc. So it's just minor things, nothing too structural. Let me go ahead and get our to-do list up. There's one thing I want to do before anything else. And that is with the live chat feature, I'm currently passing in WebSocket. And if we go into index.js, we can kind of see it. What I don't like about the live chat feature right now is that it's importing from dispatch. And by doing that, it's really not, it's not a dumb individual feature. It can't live without this dispatch. I can't separate it and use it for other things. So what I want to do instead is pass in the message router and construct the message router in index.js instead. And then we don't even need to pass in WebSocket. Yeah, I guess, do we even need to pass in the message router? I don't think we do. I think the only thing we really need to pass in is this. Is just an onChat function. Currently, the live chat feature itself is kind of deciding all this, because it's constructing the message router, it's constructing the onChat function, and really, it shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be deciding on that. That's not its job. So, okay, in order to do that, the first thing I need to do is I need to create the message router. Well, I can really just copy a lot of this reference. Put that there. You know, I wonder about all these. The music that I'm using, I got off of. Oh, I don't even remember where I got it from, but I've got a GitHub with all like the copyright stuff and whatnot. And it looks like I'm getting claimed on a lot of the music. But I got it from a very copyright-free area. I got the licenses that show that it's copyright-free, and I can use it for whatever. So, I don't know. I don't really feel like taking the time to fight the claims at the moment, because I'm not really making money from this. As long as my stuff is still up, and they're not taking it down, etc., I really don't mind. Anyways, where the live chat feature exists here, so. I guess I can just basically copy exactly what it's doing. Then I'm just wanting to I could do on live chat, I could do on chat. I'm just gonna do on chat. Then if we go to here, you're no longer taking in WebSocket, you're just taking in on chat. This actually simplifies things for us a little bit, at least over here. We no longer need that. My bad. Should just need this, and we can get rid of this. And no dispatch imports. So the general idea with the features is they're allowed to import from within themselves, which is what it's doing with Chat Listener. That's just importing within itself. And they're allowed to import basic helpers and utilities, like this. Of course, config and whatnot, etc., etc. And if we go into Chat Listener, you can see that this is a basic helper. It's not really a helper, it's more just like a model for the message structure. But yeah, that's the general idea. When it's reaching into dispatch, it's kind of muddying the waters in the way of it doesn't live by itself anymore. It can't function by itself. It's not its own dumb component. It's hard to explain in a meaningful way, but basically, I want to be building with bricks. Live chat is its own brick, and if I connect it to dispatch, it then becomes multiple bricks stuck together that I somehow have to fit into the wall. One single small brick is easy to fit with other things. 20 bricks taped together in a weird way that I cannot separate is not so easy. So keep them separate, keep them dumb, keep them specific. the topmost layer, index.js, its job is to actually be putting together the different parts, which is what it's doing here. But the different parts themselves are just meant to do their individual functions. And then dispatch is meant to be the glue that holds the parts together. In a way, it's hard to explain. I can go ahead and get rid of this. But dispatch is meant to be... Basically, I can't have two different features sharing state, and I needed live chat and dungeon crawler to both be connected in a way, because the live chat is what allows for the votes, for the player actions, for the dungeon crawler. But they are very much separate things, and they still need a shared state. So the point of dispatch is to take in the data from separate features and tie them together as needed. It's meant to be the shared state. Yeah, but it handles the shared state so that the individual features don't have to, so they don't have to connect, and then if they're connected, they're not dumb and individual specific features. They become a whole blob of things. Dispatch, it could be argued that dispatch itself is a blob of things, but given that that is its purpose and it can be separated and the features will still work by themselves, I'm fine with that. I think it still falls into compositional programming, but perhaps that's not ideal. Perhaps that's not the way to do it. I'm not sure. I can't find really good answers on that, but I'm just going to keep on doing my best. Anyways, moving on. Message router, on chat, on live chat, handled. We could go ahead and just make this even simpler and do I'm good with that. And just making sure that live chat looks good. Okay. Well, with that done, let's go ahead and figure out where we were at. We go to command handling. I think we got the basic command handling, or the command router knocked out. Also, at the end of the day, we need to determine if it's going to be command handling or command routing. So we need consistent. Also, let's make sure that okay. Looks like we're good on the imports. This was some of the edits that I had to do to get stuff working with this. Just basically, essentially if I did, I mean, you can see it down here. I'm doing new team without passing anything in. And because of that, there's no basic object here. So it doesn't default to this if there's no basic object. So what this does is it defaults to a basic object. Should allow stuff to work. Unsure. At the end of the day, there's no reason we can't just do this. And we'll leave it. If an error pops up later, we'll get it fixed. Or we could take 2 seconds and actually figure out how that works, I suppose. Okay, good. Yeah. That verifies it. Now, did we get join knocked out? We need some kind of endpoint to get the auth key and team keys to the front end. Should the dungeon crawler generate its own team keys and such? Where is the... Okay, this is where it is. Okay. Here's the teams. Currently, it is generating its own team keys. What I'm wondering is how are we going to get... How are we going to surface these team keys to an endpoint? Because currently it would be message router dot command router dot dungeon crawler dot teams dot get keys, and that's insane. The alternative is obviously globals or passing in the team keys. Or alternatively, we have to question, can we just make the endpoint within the class itself? If we can make the endpoint within the class itself, then it's less of an issue. Because then it just has direct access. I don't know if that's possible or wise structurally. I really feel like endpoints should be their own separate thing. Yeah, no, neither of those matter. Okay, yeah, no, here. We also have to question, well, the dungeon crawler feature itself isn't supposed to, I wasn't really thinking about it holding stuff like this. In fact, I'm kind of curious if songs should even be holding stuff like this, but as simple as this is already, I think it's fine. But the thing is with the dungeon crawler feature was I was literally just thinking about porting over all or copying over all the JavaScript that we wrote for the dungeon crawler and putting it in there. And literally all it does is take in player actions and then return the new dungeon as an array. 2D array, that is. The actual API side of it, I have to question if that should be handled in dispatch, because currently that's what we're slowly moving toward. I guess so. I guess it really should be handled here. I don't know. We will hit the endpoint problem when we hit it. It's either going to be very convoluted or a trivial thing. Right now I'm not going to mess with it. As far as joining goes, this.join, join team, and join team is already checking if you're already in the team, so that works. And we could always put like a WebSockets thing here so that we can tell the front end that somebody joined a team, and then we can put up a toast or something like that on the front end. Right now, let's just take a look at vote. Currently, we need the vote keys, which is not clearly defined right now. Also, this isn't checking if the team key exists. Quick test. Let's make sure an empty array doesn't come back as falsy. Not quite what I was going for. Okay, so it doesn't. Good. Might have to look at my dungeon crawler at this point and kind of look at what the options were. I think it was this one. What was this? Not useful. Seriously? Really felt like we had some kind of options somewhere. Yeah, that's right here. Where's this? Not what I was trying to do. Control C, Control V. There we go. Given that there's only, 9 options, including the random option. I could just make it so that they can vote on all 9 at any given time. And if it's an invalid action, it just doesn't count that vote. Which would probably be best, given the latency of live streaming and such. Because if I just have it get the valid actions, what's going to end up happening, or get the valid actions and then creating a poll from that, especially if I just have A, first option, B, second option, etc. Given the latency, people are going to submit votes and they're going to want one action, and then it's going to get submitted for the next vote and it'll be a completely different action. We can always make invalid actions just count, either not count or count toward a random. I'm not sure. Probably just make them not count. Alright, I'll go ahead and move this up and we'll reference it as we go. I could just do, given that there's 9, I'm kind of thinking that the votes should just be 1 through 9. I think that would be the simplest thing. Or the alternative is I could make it so that they actually have to write it out a little bit. Kind of see what that flavor looks like. We'll kind of say DC vote 1, DC vote A, versus something more like DC vote move up. or DC vote up. I kind of like that. I don't really like being able to vote for just a random action. I think that's really just something for me to mess around with on my end. So if there's like no votes for something, they can just do random stuff. I think that works. Okay. The one issue I do foresee is the spaces in between here. I could do this, but then it becomes a little bit more annoying for the people that have to type that out. I could do camel casing, but again, it becomes more annoying for the people who have to type that out. At the end of the day, this should be fine. What we will have to do is this. Join. No, not that. Man.join. Boom. Do a quick test to make sure that's going to work the way I think it is. See what that does. Alrighty. Just being extra certain. Or alternatively, just do this. Make it 1,000 times easier on myself. Yep. Looks good. Just have to make sure I do that. Okay, we have the vote key, we have the author. This is my thought process on what the vote commands should actually look like. So, vote, vote, vote. We'll go ahead and throw this down here. This is a good time to be using my old voting system that I made forever ago, and that we have not touched since. The ballot box, yeah. Great time to be using the ballot box. It'd also be a great time to use a switch statement. All right. Does the ballot box automatically reject votes that come from the same ID? Yes, it does. The thing is, I could update this to be using the whole get thing, but I'm not going to mess with it. As long as it's a dumb thing that lives by itself and it works, it's fine. We're going to need a ballot box in this class. Really, we're going to need a ballot box per team, honestly. Yeah, it'd be better if each team had its own ballot box. And handled its own votes. I see where you're coming from. I will need the vote key and the author. And then I'm going to need to get the team with the author. So if or we could just return this. If you are in a team, Or maybe, yeah, no, get authors team. That should work fine. If you're not on the team, then we return null. And then what we can do is object.values this.teams. Actually, it would be better if we didn't do that. If team.is author in group, author, return true. Otherwise, just keep on going. Return false. And we could also just do this instead of wasting a line. The reason I avoided using the for each is because when you have a for loop like this, you can actually do this return. When you're doing a for each, all the return is an essentially continue statement. So like if I put continue in here, you would just immediately go back to the top and continue down. That's essentially what the return statement does when you do a for each, because it's an internal function. So no matter what you do, you have to loop through everything, essentially, at least as far as I know. And you don't have to do that with this. This is generally why I prefer for loops. There's a lot of functionality you get with them. With continue, break, etc. Not to mention you can literally toy with the indexes. Or whatever they call it. Indexes isn't the right term for it by any means, but the stepper variable, I guess. Anyways, they shouldn't be returning true, it should be returning teams I. And this should be returning null. Yeah. Alright, so now we should be able to do get, or well, we should have teams in here, so we should be able to do this dot teams dot get authors team author. If team, there is no team, then you return. If there is a team, then we go ahead and do team dot vote, which we have added. And then we do vote key author. There we go. It's taking up more lines than it necessarily needs to, but it's fine. Anyways, moving on. This doesn't need to exist here, because this isn't really handling all that. This will be. What we can do instead here, cleaner version. There. This is getting to be a little bit of a long file. We might have to split this up, but it's fine. This is the time for the ballot box, I suppose. Each team needs to have its own ballot box. We'll define this in the constructor. ID, count, title, description. Is the count like how many votes have been put into it? Okay, so yes it is. There's never a need to reset. Each time we reset, we're just creating a new ballot box. So what we can do instead is create a function for that. New ballot. Or we could say reset vote or new vote. What we're essentially doing is we're zeroing out the votes. That's literally all we're doing. I didn't add that functionality into the ballot box because it's simpler and clearer, in my opinion, to just make a new vote from the top, honestly. If you want to zero out the votes, create a new vote, create a new ballot box. Because if I added that functionality into the ballot box itself, what I'd essentially be doing is resetting the state back to 0 and whatnot. And the clearest way to reset state back to 0 is to make a new one. All right. The first thing we need to do is define our ballot options, which is going to be defined based on this. So. Yep, I'm getting a phone call. Give me a second. I is back. My mailbox keys have arrived for my apartment. Might pick them up today, might pick them up tomorrow, we'll see. I could really use some sunlight, so I'm probably gonna head out today and do it. Kind of thinking about just going to YMCA and hanging out there. We will see though. I don't know how I feel about this, but we're just gonna do it, and if it feels wrong, I'll look at it after it's done and I'll be able to edit it better. So we'll just create one and kind of go for a new ballot option. I don't even know what the ID would be. Does it default to something? Doesn't really have a default value. Everything else has a default value. ID does not. Count. So I'm just gonna give you a default value of undefined. Count should start at 0, title and description should start at 0. That makes sense. Count, title, description. I really don't need to provide these things. One thing I would like to provide is this, so that it defaults to something. And same goes for ballot box. And voter. There we go. I don't really need to provide some descriptions for all of these. It's not necessary. If it's something I need to do later, it's something I can do, but it's not strictly necessary now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am happy that the mailbox keys arrived. Let me go ahead and check, make sure my OBS is working. Yeah, looks good. And we'll check the stream. It's good. Previously, I ordered the mailbox keys when I moved into my apartment, and then I never got the call, or I don't know if I just missed the call or something. When they got the mailbox keys set up, like 2 or 3 weeks later, and then I didn't check in until like a month or 2 later, and all of a sudden I paid $50 for new keys and never got them. So that kind of sucked. Anyways, make noise. Open chest. Attack. And flee. And then we can do this dot ballot box equals new ballot box. Ballot options should just be an array, right? Yes, it is. I do have one issue though. How does voting work? We do need an ID. Okay, so we do need to set an ID for each of these. What we could do instead to make this simpler on ourselves, since we do have to make an ID, alternatively, we could create some kind of lookup. Which could be very useful. Make noise, open chest, attack, flee. Make noise, open chest, attack, and flee. And then what we can do here is, really this isn't a, it's fine. We can change it later if we need to. And then what we need next is some kind of, we need an array of the ballot options. And then now we have an ID defined for each. we don't need any of this. We don't need this. Boom. Okay. And we don't need this for any reason, so just get rid of that. Then we go back to the constructor. This dot hashtag ballot box equals new ballot box. Boom. Moving on. This can also be trivialized to some extent. Actually, no, it can't. Unless we make the IDs match the command, but then we'd be muddying the waters. So what we need is something that's like the command to the ballot option ID. That's a bit difficult because then we've got this ABC to ABC. Can I do that? And if I can, let me just test that real quick. Yeah, that works. Just to make sure. Yep. Okay. I knew there was a way to do it, I just couldn't recall it exactly. Done your crawler. Alright. Given that, what we can do is move up to ballot option IDs.move up. Yeah, no, that seems like a clean way of doing it. Moving on. Down, down, left, right, left, right. And then we have make noise, open chest. Attack and flee. And if we go to here, we can just do CMD to ballot option ID. We're wanting the command specifically. We don't actually need the switch statement, do we? We can just do CMD to ballot option ID, and then we have the vote key. And that should give us the ballot option ID, so we should be able to do this dot ballot box dot vote. It should be a ballot box. Anyways, moving on. Vote. Voter ID, ballot option ID. This can be voter ID is author. Ballot option ID is vote key. Voter ID, ballot option ID. Voter ID, ballot option ID. That should work fine. If they've already voted, then it won't submit the vote. What are you passing in as the vote key? I need to know. Team.vote, vote key author. Vote key. This, okay. So you're passing in the command as the vote key. Not the full command, but the bits that matter. So this is incorrect. That's correct. That should allow for votes. What it doesn't do is it doesn't reset the vote and whatnot, but that's really something I've got to get the dungeon crawler in before I can do. Because we have to send it to update the dungeon first, and then we'll have to reset the votes. Or we'll have to essentially do it simultaneously. Bum, 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 bum. I'm gonna go ahead and put a private on that. Just be safe. How long is this one getting? It's only 160, but there is a lot going on here. Okay, we have join done. We have vote. Well, the basic functions are done. Or not basic functions. The basic commands are done. The DC leave, I'm not even going to make that. I'm not going to make it. I don't want it. I don't want it to exist. Auth key and team keys. Yeah, I get that. We need M points for when the votes end. Actually, we don't need that. Submitting votes is already done. Okay. That's one thing we could focus on. We could also instead focus on, we could go ahead and get the dungeon crawler into this. I could copy over the code and then tie in the dungeon crawler dispatch into the dungeon crawler feature. That's something I could do as well. We also need some kind of timer for the votes. All right, let's get rid of some of this. I think, honestly, we could get rid of all of this. Voting system's essentially done. Integrating dungeon crawler needs done, obviously. Voting system and dungeon crawler, yeah, that needs done, obviously. I'm just gonna get rid of it. I need to clean it up. I kind of like the idea of tying in the dungeon crawler now and getting the vote timer set up. And then we'll be in a place where we can start actually delivering the state of the dungeon. And such. Yeah. Okay. Well then, first steps first, I suppose. Moving all of the dungeon code over. Am I even using... I mean, let me go ahead and move this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm not even sure I'm using test.js. Yep, no I'm not. So this can be deleted. And then main can just probably be turned into index.js. Let's actually clean this up so that it's ready to be moved over, because it is a bit of a mess. We'll just leave that there. Then as far as the update dungeon goes, that's literally the only thing that matters. All of this can do this. And then I think we're good to just go ahead and move it on over. So we'll go ahead and just open the containing folder. And move you over to here. Yep, okay, we'll have to open the containing folder for you too. On the pest. Does the dungeon crawler code match the quality of the code I've been producing with my API? No. It's not bad though. It could definitely... Oh, okay, so what's happening here? Why is this... Oh, it's just... That's fine. No, it doesn't. It could be cleaned up a lot. It definitely could be made into very clean compositional code. That is not what I have done exactly. But I think it functions as a nice MVP. And to be fair, it's not really meant to be a long-term project, so... Anyways, what I'm contemplating is currently the message router is just past WebSocket. But now I have to consider if I need to pass it the dungeon crawler feature. I guess we don't need to pass the dungeon crawler feature. The dungeon crawler feature is literally just this. One question I do have, where's the data stored? It's stored here. Gotcha. The dungeon crawler is a little bit of a mess. a little bit of a mess. We could just keep it in here, I guess. A little bit of a weird thing to do. And the dungeon crawler feature is just a little bit of a mess right now. I'm gonna be real. It's a bit of a mess. It should be a class. It really should. I could take the time to clean up the dungeon crawler. It really should be a class. The more I look at it, the more just absolutely certain I am that it should be a class. Oh boy. I don't want to take the time to clean it up super nice. I really just don't. There's... I don't need to, but I'm probably going to regret not doing so. This is a bit of a key decision, and because of that, we are going to do this and back up our node server. You could always push it to GitHub or whatnot too, but this is fine for now. This is what you get for backing up node modules.